Okay, so thank you everybody for being a part of the information session for the Masters in Education in Mathematics Education offered through the Department of Curriculum and Pedagogy at UBC. And I wanted to just start by, we sort of gave some brief introductions with each other, but I want to start just with an acknowledgement in two ways. One is a land acknowledgement from UBC Vancouver to acknowledge that we're on the traditional unceded ancestral territory of the Musqueam people. And I say traditional to acknowledge how the land was traditionally occupied by Musqueam people here, and how the land and its teachings are handed down from generation to generation, which is the ancestral aspect to it, and then how this land was taken by what is now called BC without any kind of an agreement or a treaty. So I'm hoping that this kind of acknowledgement helps us reflect a little bit more on trying to think better about how we can care for the land, as well as with each other. And I think this fits very nicely with the theme of this cohort, which is teaching and learning mathematics with and in community. And then I want to acknowledge each of you for taking the time out of your day to be a part of the information session and to try to learn a little bit more about thinking about a master's degree in math education. And also just thinking about how you might deepen your own understanding of what it means to teach and learn mathematics. I think one of the most challenging subjects to teach. So so we've introduced everybody, I think, so far. So we have, and sometimes the technology might bump people out and stuff. So I think we understand that's the case, and you'll just come back in when you can. So we have Shelley from the South Okanagan, Justin from the Cusp, Tisha from Prince Rupert, Lita from Vancouver, and again, my name is Cynthia, and I'm here at the University of British Columbia, but I originally grew up in the Kootenay Territory and taught for a number of years in Haida, Hawaii, Haida Territory, before coming back to go to grad school at UBC. And then I've just been here since. Never thought I'd live in a big city, but this is kind of starting to grow on me. So I'm hoping that with the theme of this cohort, which we'll discuss, we'll be able to share a bit more about our own experiences living and being in community and trying to think about what that has to do with mathematics. So, so just to give you a sense of the agenda for the session, here's a list. So we've got some introductions, which you've kind of already done. We'll start with talking a bit about the program itself and give you a bit of background and some schedules related to that. And then Yvette, will talk a bit more about the application and the admissions process and what's involved in that, and then answer any questions that you might have. But we could do questions related to the program as you're thinking about them as we go along, and then we can do questions about the admissions as we go along too, if you have anything that you'd like to ask. So the whole session will be recorded so that it can be offered to those who aren't able to attend and available at the website, the PDCE website. So if you are not interested in having your voice recorded, then I guess, I don't know, I guess you can just use the chat thing if you have a question rather than having your voice recorded. So just to know that this is being recorded. Okay. So let's go to the next slide. So just a summary of the program itself. So the program is basically a fully online and a part-time program. It's going to take about 2 years, not about, it will take 2 years and plus 1 term, so it's 7 terms altogether. And it's designed for practicing teachers, people who are educators within the community who might be interested in mathematics, and anyone who's trying to think about a career in education who may have teaching experience but may not necessarily have opportunities for thinking about mathematics education more specifically. The application deadline is March 2nd, And the program is open to pretty much everybody, and you certainly don't need a degree in mathematics or science. So people who are interested and have some experience in thinking about teaching mathematics are certainly ones that the program is dedicated to. So a bit about the background itself of the program. So for a number of years, UBC has been offering courses and programs related to math education. And we've got students now across the province and across Canada and internationally who have graduated from our programs. This idea, though, of having a program online is something that we're trying to think more about so that we can reach areas where people aren't able to take a year off of school and come down to Vancouver and study, and instead be able to be among a community of other educators and be able to study online together as a cohort. So we're hoping that this meets the needs and attracts people who live in the outskirts of the Lower Mainland, or even areas, you know, like Lita, you said you're from Vancouver, so even areas where you're not able to get to UBC in time for our courses that start at 4:30, I think the program will attract people there. So I noticed that the slides are moving, but I'm not pushing the button, so I'm not sure what's happening.
I'm here, moving here. I'll move them here.
Someone. So
It's because they're signed on as moderators.
Oh, everybody is a
somebody's
moderator.
touching the slides.
Okay. So it looks like somehow everybody has moderator access. So
And I
that
can't
means
change it.
that, yeah, and so I'm going to just, is it okay if I just control the slides for
Yes.
right now? I'm asking everybody's permission for that. So no more clicking slides, everybody. So I'm going to just take us back so that we can just kind of quickly go through these parts here. Okay.
You okay?
Yeah,
Okay. If there's someone clicking the slides, can you stop doing that, please? And just let Cynthia control the slides, and then, thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to control the slides now, everybody. It's like the arguing for the remote in the house with watching the TV.
Not touching.
Okay. I'm trying to get us back, but someone's... How did everybody get in as a...
I don't know.
I can't seem to get us back to where I want to be.
Okay.
So maybe you can do it. Okay, there. Now I want your next, yeah, now go forward. The next one. Yes. Next
That one?
No, the next one.
Okay.
There we go. Okay. So just quickly, I wanted to share with you a little bit of what our philosophy is with this program. We want to give everyone opportunities to integrate theory and practice as a way of being able to think more deeply about your own teaching experiences, to provide a place for you to collaborate and learn together across disciplines, cultures, contexts, countries, and elementary and secondary and post-secondary, to engage critically with some of your own experiences teaching mathematics and even learning mathematics. And then to also think about, well, how might mathematics connect with the community? So what can we do? How can we think more deeply about the role of mathematics in doing that? And that sets up, I think, for the next couple slides here with the theme of teaching and learning mathematics with and in community. So there's some research that's been done that I've been working on that looks at trying to think more about how mathematics can be used to learn to read and write the world. And reading meaning like interpreting, and writing meaning understanding the world. So what role might mathematics play in learning to better understand and change the world for the better? So that would be part of what we're thinking about in teaching and learning math with community. Trying to think more about various community contexts that have the potential to evoke curiosity. So places like being outside, being in libraries or malls, thinking about gardens, anything outdoors that might provide us opportunities to think more deeply about the role that mathematics plays in helping us live in this particular place. And then studying theories on how children solve problems across different kinds of contexts, including cultural contexts, as well as indoors, outdoors, for example. And continuing with the next slide on the same theme, is looking at framing the role of mathematics in trying to understand social issues. So looking at areas of equal justice, for example, such as inequitable access to various things like clean drinking water across communities, especially communities across BC in the north, and in ways of trying to figure out how we might react and be moved to action. Looking at theories and practices for how we can think about where mathematics might be taught and learned beyond the classroom itself. So every community has got places where we can explore the opportunities to think about teaching and learning math. So with people across the province, we'll have access to a whole bunch of different places where we can explore that. And then trying to think more about how to initiate and sustain working within a community. How can we work with elders in our communities, with Indigenous communities, trying to think more about what role mathematics might play in helping us understand better our own relationships with each other and the land. So on this slide, I've just listed a few places, and you will probably have, well, you will have areas that we can add to this. That thinking about what community context might be, could be a garden, a cultural space, it could be urban context, like around the school, thinking about artistic performances, thinking about working with families and parents is an interesting setting that's outside the math classroom, looking at public spaces, as I had just mentioned, and then trying to think more about other contexts, like how can we use mathematics to try to make a difference, meaning how do we use it to be able to better understand our response to climate change or poverty, or thinking about some of the social injustices that are occurring. So trying to make mathematics be taught with some meaning and purpose beyond worksheets and textbooks, and sort of broadening our own understanding of what mathematics might look like in those kinds of contexts. So on this slide, so hopefully I've gotten you very excited about thinking about the program and the theme, and hopefully your interest is a bit piqued about thinking about teaching and learning math with community. The next couple slides just show what that would look like and the kinds of courses that we would be offering for this 2-year plus 1 term program. So in the first year, we have set up a series of 4 courses that we will offer together as a cohort. That means that we would be going, the course would be offered online, but we take the course together as a group, and it would be offered just to our cohort. I think once in a while someone might come into it that was not in the cohort, but it's for everybody that's in the cohort. So we sort of stay together as a group through all of these core courses. There are some courses here that are listed that are required. So that are required courses as part of the Masters of Education in our department. And one of them is this first course called EDCP 562. Okay, someone's. So it's going to take us back to that slide. So EDCP 562 is the introduction.
Somebody's moving the slides. Can you not move the slides, please?
Sorry, we're taking away your freedom to look to see what's coming up next. And I apologize. For some reason, everybody is in the session as a moderator. And so you have total control. Everybody has total control of how to move us through this. But for those people who aren't here with us right now and who want to view the session later, We want to make the voice kind of match the slide so they know what we're talking about. So Introduction to Curriculum Issues and Theories will be the starting course. And after that, we'll follow with a course around origins and issues of math education, where we'll look at trying to think more about mathematics within our communities and how we might engage in that. And then EDCP 552 looks at mathematics education at the early years, meaning the primary, elementary years. And then Education 500 is looking at helping you gain some research skills and being able to learn how to read research, be able to read articles, be able to learn how to do an interview, how to work with children to observe, interview maybe your colleagues. We'll be able to kind of practice what it means to read and engage in doing research. And then you have some options for some electives in that last part of year one. And those electives we'll talk more about those electives after I go through each of these years, because the following slides will talk about that. In year two, there are 3 more courses and an opportunity for an elective. So 551 is again mathematics, which focuses on the later part of elementary and into secondary school. So this course, although it says it's in the later years and the years beyond, is a course that just allows those of us who are in elementary to be able to think about where mathematics goes in terms of the scope and sequence of it. So it's a course for everybody. It doesn't mean it's just a course for people who are in the secondary years or teaching at that level. It's a course for everybody. And then the next course is a course around teaching math for social justice. And that's another place where we can think about designing projects within the community that might get our students involved in thinking about how mathematics can help us make the changes. And then the third course is an education action research course, which will help us think more about designing projects that would be useful for connecting us to the other courses we've taken so far. And then finally, we have another opportunity for an elective. And then the third column there is, and I can turn this to that page, is the graduating paper, which will be a part of the program. It isn't a requirement for people in BC in order to be able to get your pay raise at the next level for the TQS. But we have found that it's an opportunity for you to be able to kind of synthesize everything that you've learned so far throughout the whole program and to try to do a project that you might feel very interested in. So that will take you to one more term. So you can see that it's over 2 years plus 1 term. Okay, the next slide just talks a little bit about electives. So you can take your electives down here at UBC in Vancouver or the Okanagan face-to-face if you like. If you don't want to do that, you can take electives online. There's many different choices that you can find related to that, and we have many options for you to look through the courses that are online. We have science courses that are online that I'll talk about in a sec, as well as technology courses, early education courses. So there's lots of different kinds of courses that are online that could be an option for you. And we also have an agreement with the Western Deans Association, so that will allow you to take courses at other universities if you find them and have credit for those courses towards your degree here at UBC. So lots of options that are available to you for your electives. And those would be, you just choose it yourself. You could choose it with people that you meet in the cohort. Together you can choose an elective, or you can just choose it based on your own interests. And you can click on those links later to be able to explore some of those. But one other thing I just wanted to share with you is that we're also offering, or we do also offer, a cohort for science education, very similar to the one that is for math education. So we're trying to see if there will be opportunities for us to engage across cohorts on maybe some courses or some programs. And we also have something that's in the works for looking at a Master of Education technology. So pretty soon we'll have like a STEM theme that will be in, people will be in one of these three, but will be able to take courses across the science as well as the technology as well as the mathematics. Okay. Okay, so that sort of finishes for me anyways, just kind of summing up some ideas to introduce you to the program itself, what the courses would look like year by year, the theme of the cohort. Are there any questions that you might have that you'd like to ask at this point? And do we want them to be typed out, Yvette?
Either or.
Okay, so you can ask them or you can type it in as a chat, whatever you feel comfortable doing. Anybody has anything? No? Okay. Okay. So maybe we'll go to Yvette then? Is that okay? If everybody's fine?
Can also ask questions at the end if you think of something, or if you want to ask us separately by sending an email, that's fine too. My name is Yvette, and I'll be covering the admissions and the application process, as well as the tuition and student fees, and then welcome any questions at the end. So what we're looking for is a completed 4-year undergraduate degree, and it can be in any field. Is that right, Cynthia?
Yep.
And is there anything specific or anything?
In terms of the degree itself?
Yes.
Well, preference will be given to people if they've had some teaching experience, but the degree itself.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Okay. And we're also looking for a GPA of B+, of 76% in all senior level courses, which are 300 level and above courses. Or if you have a B or a B- range, so that's a 68% to a 75% at UBC, with a 4-year undergraduate degree plus a B.Ed, then you also would qualify for the program. But if your application or your GPA is lower than 76%, what the admissions committee can do is write a special case rationale on your behalf if they feel that you are a good candidate for the program. So then they would recommend you to the Faculty of Graduate and Postdoctoral Studies for admission if you don't meet the GPA requirement. We're also looking for, well, I ask you to order 2 official sealed transcripts from all post-secondary institutions, with the exception of UBC, because I have access to UBC records. And what we'd like you to do is upload 1 official transcript to your application, front and back. The back has the grading key that we use to calculate your GPA. And if it could be in a single file as a PDF. And then we ask you to keep the other one sealed. So if you are admitted to the program, that sealed copy will go to the Faculty of Graduate Studies, and they will process their end of things with your official transcript. Now, if you were part of an exchange program, we need to see transcripts from that post-secondary institution as well. And please ensure that your transcripts state that you have graduated. So the back of the transcript, which is called the grading scale or grading key, has different values associated with the letter grades, and that's what we look for to calculate your GPA. We're also looking for a 600-word or 2-page statement of intent, a description outlining your reasons for enrolling in the program and what is it that you hope to achieve upon completing this program. How is it going to help your professional practice? Is there anything else that you're looking for, Cynthia?
In that statement of intent, yeah, just articulating what it is that you think you'll get out of the program and what you're hoping to do with this degree. It also serves for us as a sample of your writing, so you want to just make sure that someone else gives it a read over first so that you can make sure it reads well. Yeah, I think that's about it.
We're also looking for a resume listing your professional and academic accomplishments. And we'd like you to include your volunteer work, any publications, newsletters, committee work, workshops.
Yeah.
Anything else that you can think of?
Anything that you have done that could be even considered as engagement with the community or volunteer work or thinking about teaching in different contexts. So you may be a teacher but not necessarily in a school district. That you could still write up your teaching experience as something like working as a tutor or working as an educator for a science museum or that kind of setting. So we're thinking of education in a very broad sense.
We're also looking for some teaching experience, about 1 to 2 years of teaching experience or equivalent teaching engagement. Do you want to speak to that?
That's just preference to that. So we found that if you've had a little bit of teaching experience, so you're able to engage with some of the readings and the ideas, the concepts, a little more deeply because you can attach it to something. So that's why we ask for preference for those who have had some teaching experience. And again, the teaching is not necessarily school-based teaching, but it can be teaching considered in the broader sense. Teaching adults, tutoring, working as in a museum, those can all be examples of teaching.
We're also looking for 3 letters of reference. So we look for 1 academic reference and 2 professional references. The professional references are typically from people who have supervised you, like a principal or a vice principal, administrator, as well as 1 academic reference. So from a professor that you've had or...
Yeah, and that sometimes can be a bit hard to try to locate somebody who may have taught you at university, especially if your university is far away or that person or people have moved on. But if you can, try to email and try to locate somebody who may remember you. And you can do that by letting them know what year you graduated or giving them something that they can remember you by so that they can write a letter that speaks to your academic potential to do well in a program at the master's level.
Once you submit your application, an e-reference will go out to your referees and there will be a form that's provided to them. They could use that form or they can upload their own letter and instructions are provided to them. Or say you have a retired professor and they no longer belong to an institution or organization, then they could mail in the reference. But the letter must be endorsed on the back with their signature on the flap of the envelope for it to be valid. And please no references by email or fax. Applicants from a university outside of Canada in which English is not the primary language of instruction must provide results of an English language proficiency examination as part of the application, and tests must have been taken within the last 24 months at the time of submission of your application. If this applies to you, please contact me. There's also a form that's on your application called Acknowledgement of Part-Time Status Form. And this is a form that the Faculty of Graduate and Postdoctoral Studies would like everyone to fill out, acknowledging that this is a part-time program. And if you could fill out the form, sign it, and then upload it to your application, with your student ID number, and the student ID number for those of you who have not been at UBC before will be the application ID that is assigned to you. Now, to apply to the program, you'd go to grad.ubc.ca/apply/online. So all of your documents, like your transcripts, your statement of intent, and resume, will be uploaded to the application. When you do your search for the program, you could look up Master of Education in Math Education - Professional Cohort, or the short form MAED, and it's a September start only. If you have a UBC student ID from previous study at UBC, please use that ID. If you don't know it, please contact me. Now, the application is available, and the deadline to apply is March 2nd, 2020, and that includes all your supporting documents. The application fee is $106 for domestic applicants and $168.25 Canadian for international applicants, which are people who are non-permanent resident or non-citizens, Canadian citizens. Now, currently, the domestic tuition fee, and this is the tuition portion only, is currently $2,163 Canadian, plus student fees. So that's the tuition portion only. That's the installment that you'd pay every term for 7 terms if you're a domestic student. If you're international student, then the tuition portion is $22.05 and change Canadian plus student fees. And the student fees for this current term that we're in, September to December, was approximately $745.
That's different for each term, though, right?
It's different for each term. And I will also cover a few of the student fees. So currently for domestic students, the tuition portion cost only is right now $15,141 Canadian plus student fees.
That's the cost of the whole program.
No, that's just the tuition portion only. Student fees are on top of that.
Right, but the tuition cost for the whole program is $15,000.
Right, currently.
Yeah.
And for international program, the tuition portion currently is $15,437 and change Canadian plus student fees. So the student fees are paid in 7 installments, which equals to 7 terms. So that is your 2 years plus a term. The university reserves the right to increase it every year, and typically they do in May. There's 3 installments or payment installments per year. That's the September to December, January to April, and then May to August. The summer term is considered as 1 term. And you'd be paying a whole program fee, not a per credit fee.
Which means you can take as many courses as you like.
Right. So if you take elective courses, as long as Cynthia approves them, your tuition will cover the cost or the tuition of those courses. So the student fees are charged each term, and they vary from term to term. For some of you, you may want to opt out of the health and dental plan. And that's currently $256.92 per year. So there's a permanent opt-out provision for that. So it's a possible savings for you. As well as the Compass card. If you do not live in the Greater Vancouver area, you're out of province or in your northern part of the province, or you're just out of the Greater Vancouver area where the TransLink does not reach you, then there's another possible savings of $164 per term. For those of you who live in the Vancouver Lower Mainland, you will be charged this fee. It cannot be removed from your tuition, and it will allow you 3-zone travel across the city. And that's it.
With the pending strike coming on.
Yeah. I don't know. Now, teacher education certificates. This is directed to teachers in the Vancouver Lower Mainland that have taken up UBC students in their classrooms as student teachers. And if this applies to you, please contact the teacher education office. If you're an elementary school teacher, you can contact Rod Brown. And if you're a secondary teacher, you'd contact John Yamamoto. These teaching education certificates can be applied to the tuition portion of your fees. So it's a great savings if you can get a hold of them. If your colleagues have them and they have not expired, you may want to ask them if they're using them and use it for your own tuition. But for further details, please contact the teacher education office. Does anyone have any questions?
Oh, there's me.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, this is Justin. I have a question. I've been a teacher for about 15 years, and I'm interested in this program. I teach high school mathematics. I recently did a graduate diploma program through SFU. Would my instructor in that program qualify for my reference as an academic?
Yes.
Thank you.
The graduation diploma, that was a post-grad, right, Justin?
Yes, it's post-grad, yes.
Yeah. That would be a great example of an academic reference.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any other questions?
I know we had.
Did you want to?
We were so good at explaining everything. No one has another question. I know I've had a couple emails and, oh, Lita, would you like to ask a question? That's a good idea, raising your hand like that.
Did you have a question, Lita?
Or maybe, I can't hear you, Lita, so maybe you could type it in with the chat. And maybe while you're doing that, I can just mention that I've had a few emails about people who are in one program and are wondering whether or not they could transfer from that graduate program into this program, and whether or not their courses would be able to be taken as credit into this new program that we're offering. And my answer to that is that we'll do it on I'd have to look at it on a case-by-case basis. And because this is a cohort where we are moving together through the program, except for the electives, it makes it a bit more difficult for you to maybe meet all the requirements of a program through this department, because there are courses, there are graduate level math ed courses that are required, as well as the curriculum and instruction course and the research methods courses. So those would be requirements that you would need to be able to get the degree through our department. But we can assess each of the requests as they come on a case-by-case basis. So that one responds to some of the questions I've had. Another one was around electives. I had an email about various electives that you could take, and I mentioned about the Dean's Agreement, Western Dean's Agreement. The courses that are online at UBC are fairly extensive. You can also take courses at the 300 and 400 level, up to 6 credits that can count towards your degree. They don't need to all be at the 500 level. So if you can find a course or if you want to come to UBC and take a course at a 300 or 400 level, as long as you just consult with us, that's usually all right to do. And what else related to elective courses? Oh yeah, and then also thinking about the other cohort, the science education cohort, there may be some opportunities to move with some courses between the math cohort and the science cohort. Or we might even pool our classes together and mix them up a bit. We're trying to think of creative ways that we could take advantage of the opportunity of having both the science and the math cohorts together like this online. Oh, I think it's exciting. Okay. Opportunity. Anybody have any other questions?
Hi, I'm just wondering if the summer institute courses would count. Like Leighton Schnellert does one in Kelowna on inclusive education. Could I do that?
Is this Tisha? Is it Tisha speaking?
Right.
Okay, so I couldn't hear you very well. What was your question again?
If the summer institute courses would count.
If the summer institute courses will count.
Like what? What would be a summer institute? Do you have one in mind, Tisha?
The one with Leighton Schnellert on inclusive education.
Leighton inclusive education course.
Okay. I just have to look at it. So I'm not sure about that course. I know sometimes courses for institutes, in order to make it a course for a credit, you might need to do a little bit more onto the institute. But I would just need to is it given as credit? Do you know, Tisha?
I was just looking.
Is it a credit course?
I think so.
Oh, if it's a credit course, it should be all right. Sometimes an institute is offered, and it might be like a 4-day institute, and then people want it to have credit as a course. You might do another day or two with the project on the end, and then it can be credit for a course. But if it's credit for a course the way it is, then it should be okay. But we would just need to review it.
Hi, Lida.
Oh, sorry.
Lida.
Oh, sorry. I've been trying to.
Yeah, no, sorry. Go ahead.
I did a master's in education, in adult education at UBC, but it was 10 years ago. And I haven't taken any formal classes since then. So the academic reference is challenging for me because I don't think my teachers remember me. Would be possible just to give reference from work? I do training and
Yeah, I know. I totally hear you. It is a bit of a challenge. So you did your master's of education at UBC 10 years ago?
yes, I finished 2007.
Okay. And do you remember what department it was?
Yes, adult education. It's an MED.
Okay, and it was EDSP then?
Yes, I think.
Yeah. It's, it's possible.
I did good. So I know the names, like Tom Sawyer, and I have the names, but I don't think he remembers me, or there were other teachers, but I don't think they remember me. Or
yeah, you think that, but I bet you they do. It's surprising how people will remember you. So my first suggestion would be to contact Tom, and me or Yvette can help you do that, so that you can get access to his email and stuff. And just to mention to him that he was your instructor 10 years ago, and that you're applying for this program, and can he write you a reference? Now, if he says, I am sorry, Lita, I can't remember you at all, then we will go for the next thing, which could be then asking somebody from your workplace. I mean, if we can't find somebody, then we will think of something else to do related to that. But if at all possible, we really want to encourage people to try to see if they can find somebody who's in that position to be able to assess your academic potential to be able to complete a program like this.
okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
I will do
So
that.
we can start with Tom, and then if that doesn't work, then we'll figure something else out. We will figure it out, so not to worry.
I will find some other names, but in another meeting I heard the suggestion of not to contact anybody that they may not give any feedback or anything that because they don't remember, because they don't know you. But I will try.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sure. But you don't know if they don't know you until you try. Until you ask them.
Yes.
You can say in your contact, you may not remember me, but remember I remember we did this assignment, or here's my picture, so they might remember you that way, or I remember that we did this in class and I did this particular project, just to sort of spark some kind of connection. And then you might also ask if they can provide a positive reference for you, because you're right, you don't want to be asking people who aren't going to provide you a positive reference. Who would do that, right? So if you just say that in the email, then that gives the person the opportunity to opt out if they wanted to. But Tom I'm sure Tom will be able to respond.
Thank you so much. The other question that I have is all my experience, even though a long time ago I was a math teacher in high school, it's right now the last 10 years is in adult education in training in a company. And I noticed that you mentioned that in early years of education, and my focus will be more in adult. So is that okay?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we have all of our students, whether they are secondary students or if they're elementary students, they take courses that provide them with opportunities to think about teaching and learning at both those, at some of the range of the age levels. Because even though we teach at high school, we might have, or adults, we might have adults or high school students who find it very challenging to try to think about how to multiply or how to engage in or remember number facts. And so the content might be very similar to what we might be teaching at the elementary level. And as elementary teachers, we need to know where our students are headed. We're always going to have students who are going to push us our own understanding of mathematics in different ways. And so it's good to be able to think about, what is the future direction of my student who might be only in grade 2 or 3, but I need to know what that other direction is as well. So it's okay that you haven't had any teaching of math over the last 10 years. That's perfectly fine. And it's okay that your focus is at the secondary level, because I know everybody enjoys both the courses. The titles just, I kind of wish they weren't called that, because they're just really looking at teaching and learning mathematics. And the problems that we work on and the tasks that we work on go across ages and grade levels and contexts. So anybody can try them and anybody can engage in them. So so I think you would enjoy it in both cases.
Thank you.
Yeah. And Shelley, you had your hand up?
Yeah, hi. I had a question about the academic reference as well. Just since we're speaking about specifics, I went to UVic 25 years ago, so I think it might be difficult.
Yeah. And I hear you. That's my alma mater, UVic.
Oh.
So right now, though, you've been teaching for how long in the Okanagan?
20 years.
20 years, okay. So maybe somebody at the district level who might be able to speak to your ability to be able to lead and write and organize. So if you sort of think about the purpose of the reference letters, one is just to give us a sense that you're going to be able to complete the program in good stead. And then also the other is to be able to accept, students who have something to be able to offer, as well as who will be successful. So maybe the superintendent or maybe the director of instruction.
Okay.
Like if you were to ask for your professional references, the principal of your school, you want to go a little further up, if you're going to find somebody who's
like a head?
Yeah, like the superintendent or the director of instruction would be like the head of the district. If they, South Okanagan, that's sort of large, isn't it? I don't know if that. Have you done, maybe think about some of the activities that you've done over the last few years that have made a contribution to your school that people can write about or speak to.
Okay. Okay, well, that gives me somewhere to start.
Yeah, and we also, I remember when I first applied to go to UBC as a student when I was teaching up in Haida Gwaii. You sort of think that you don't really have or I shouldn't generalize, but I remember thinking for myself that I didn't felt that I didn't have as much I could offer. And if you just think really hard about it, there's lots that you can put together to make a case for why you think you should be admitted into the program. And who you should contact in order to be able to support that. So there might be just even leaders in your community that have noticed some of the work that you've done. And also, if you've written, I think Yvette said that, if you've written newsletters for the school or you presented at the school for a Pro D Day at the district level, even at the school level, write that up in your CV or your resume. Just make up a title. It doesn't matter, even if you didn't call it something, just try and make something up. Think of a date that fits around that time that you did it. You don't want to create something that you didn't do, but if you didn't call it something, make a title, say where it was that you presented, give it a date, and for every time you've done that, put that in your resume, because that's really important part of the application process. So thinking about what you've contributed to the professional community, and if you can't find an academic reference, then we'll just have to go with that.
Okay.
Good. Thank you for the question.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Susan, do you have any questions? Or Tisha? Or Rico? Okay. You sure? Well, or Justin, do you have any other questions? Maybe people have left.
Hello, no, I'm okay. I'm really excited for this. I think it's going to be really cool. I'm really interested in learning about how to transform my class for social justice and learning about Indigenous ways to incorporate into my classroom. So yeah, I think it's going to be really cool.
Oh, I'm so glad. Good. You know what? Everybody, including Justin, you could also share this with your colleagues and see if you can get a few people in your school or in your district interested. Because even though it's online, it's fun to be able to do this with other people on your staff who might also be interested. So you can try some things in your classrooms together. You can talk and share and read together, or just share ideas about some of the things that we're doing. So it's always more fun if you can gather a group together that are near where you are, even though we'll all be together online. So think about that as another option.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. I'm just so glad that there's interest like this. This is really cool. Okay. Well, I know you're really busy and you're probably tired and ready to get on with other things, getting ready for tomorrow's classes. So if there are no more questions, and then we can wrap it up. If there are any questions about the nature of the program itself and the courses specifically, as well as the theme of the cohort, then you can ask me and email me, and all my contact information is on that last slide. And if you have questions about tuition or the application itself, then Yvette will be able to help you there. And we will put up this session online so that if you talk to your colleagues and they'd like a little bit more information about it, you can give them this link and they can listen to it as well. Yeah, and if you have any questions, if you want me to read over, if you want feedback on your statement of intent, your 600-word statement of intent, just let me know, email it, and I can give it a read for you and say, oh, you should beef up this a bit more, or maybe add in this over here, or this sentence doesn't make quite as much sense to me, or something like that. I can give you some feedback so I can help you make that as strong as possible. If you like, I'm certainly able to do that. Okay, well, I hope I see everybody's applications in by March the 2nd. So I want to thank everybody again for joining us and asking your questions and being a part of this. I think it will be a really exciting year, two years and one term, if you are able to submit your application.
I have one thing to add, and that is when you start your application, you don't have to submit it right away. You can start it and then save it and then return to it. Or you can put in the personal details as well as your reference information, submit it, and then return to your application to upload documents. So either way works.
Okay, good. Okay, good. Thank you, Tisha. All right. Okay, I'm going to just say, I'll just go here and say thank you in the chat.
Okay.
And hopefully we'll see your applications. Okay, bye everybody.